Krishna, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today, and also I welcome all of you in His Holiness Candramauli Swami daily call. So today we are going to, our Guru Maharaj is going to enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter 10 and verse 16. Guru Maharaj is continuing in the series. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Vrindavan, I think we made this policy. I don't want to be referred to as Guru Maharaj while we do these calls, only because there's a mixture of devotees. Some are not disciples. So I'm going to keep a general profile for me. You can just refer to me as Candramauli Maharaj or Maharaj, either one.
Sure, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry.
Yeah, it becomes too exclusive, and then it seems to be a little bit like a club.
Sure, Maharaj. Sure. So I will share the screen, Maharaj.
Okay. Tell the other hosts about that too. They should be.
Sure, I will convey this to everyone, Maharaj.
And the devotees in general should also know this.
Sure, Maharaj. I will make sure this is followed from today.
This is Candramauli Maharaj's Zoom call. So that's how it's billed, you know.
Sure.
Or Candramauli Swami's bill call.
Sure, Maharaj. So Maharaj, over to you.
Okay, so Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pucharine Yavase Sasunyavadi Astyathyade Sacharine. Didn't we do this verse yesterday? And someone
I was told that we covered until 1.10.15, Maharaj. Srimati Mataji mentioned.
Let's see the previous verses and I can tell you.
Sure.
The previous. Just the previous verse. 15. That was the previous verse. 15. Yeah.
So this is 16.
Goes 16, goes 17. Yeah, 16 we did yesterday. We had a very extensive discussion on that verse. Now it's 17. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sitata Patram Jagraham Muktadama Vidusitam Ratnadandam Guda Kesha Priyam Priyat Namasyaha. At that time, Arjuna, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep, who was the intimate friend and most beloved of the Supreme Lord, took up an umbrella which had a handle of jewels and was embroidered with lace and pearls. Purple and gold, jewels, pearls, and valuable stones were used in the luxurious royal ceremonies. They are all nature's gift and are produced by the hills, oceans, etc. By the order of the Lord, when man does not waste his valuable time in producing unwanted things in the name of necessities. By so-called development of industrial enterprises, they are now using pots and gutta percha instead of metals like gold silver, brass, and copper. They're using margarine instead of purified butter. The fourth of the city population has no shelter. Naksun militam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swam Padatikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pucharine. Here Visesa Sunya Brahvari Paskya Tere Sutarine. Manchakopa Tarubhasya Kripa Sindhupe Pacha Dhitaram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srinivasa Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So we go back a few thousand years and we see how the Vedic culture was so opulent by natural arrangement. All of opulence comes from natural arrangement, not from artificial production of similar products, which look like the real stuff, but are made out of very cheap and very dispensable material. Prabhupada says, I think the word Gouda Percha here means plastic or something of the same caliber as plastic. So in Krishna's time, people are gold, silver, brass, and copper. Nowadays, you can't even buy gold if you have the money. Silver, and brass, and copper is available. But now because people are poverty-stricken, because they don't have any wealth at all, real wealth is land, cows, and precious metals, as Prabhupada says here. In the royal ceremonies, gold, jewels, pearls, and valuable stones were used in luxurious royal ceremonies. And the men would decorate their wives with silver, with gold, with lapis lazuli, with emeralds, rubies, and various types of valuable gems. And nowadays, women don't have that kind of decoration. They just put on plastic or some kind of cosmetic jewelry, which doesn't have any value, although it looks like something valuable. So as you can see, with the progress of time, the deterioration of the age, especially within the last 300 to 350 years, the whole quality of life at all levels has really gravitated down to a very hard struggle for life. Just like years ago, people had their own homes and they had a whole area around their home where they could use as their personal activities. They also had they had horses, they had cows, they had other types of animals. They also had much agricultural fields. They were rich by nature. Nowadays, if you want something, you have to work hard and they give you a piece of paper. It's a form of cheating because the paper has no value. It's just paper. That's all it is. And you give your time and energy, and you get a piece of paper. And the piece of paper says, this is good, and he buy you something. So And what are you buying? You're buying the cheap stuff. Instead of buying butter, you get margarine. Uh, People were living in, as I said, first different types of houses, which were quite opulent. Nowadays, people live in what we use a euphemism called pigeonholes. They stack these boxes one on top of the other. They call them the apartments. And they kind of try to reach as high in the sky as they can. And people are stuck in these very unhealthy environments where surrounded by pollution from various types of machinery and sometimes deprived of sunshine many times. And Prabhupada said even 1/4 of the city population has no shelter, and that's true. You examine it, you'll see many people don't have actually shelter. People sometimes live with their relatives because they can't afford to have their own place. So the quality of life, at least on the external level, has gone down. On the internal level also, because people don't worship the Lord anymore. They worship economic development. They worship various types of ways to invent ideas on how to do something new, something different, which is to compensate for their boredom. Statistics show that it's a kind of an older statistic, maybe goes back about 20 years, but it still has some validity. I think it's changed in quality now, but what am I referring to is that the statistic was that 5% of the time people were generally happy. 5% of the time people are generally unhappy. 5% of the population are happy, 5% are unhappy, and 90% are bored. Boredom can also be put into the category of unhappiness. So most people are unhappy because they live unnaturally. This materialistic civilization has usurped all of the good qualities of the living entity and relegated people to work very hard in these very mean types of environments, which is very unhealthy. In the industry and factories and various types of technological places, which is sapping the good energy of people in general. Nowadays, you see cancers are such on the rise. Everybody is fighting themselves or knowing others that are sick from cancer, dying from cancer. Cancer is a feature of the age of Kali. People don't live long anymore. The average life, I guess, is about 80 years old in Western countries, if that much. And because India has somehow adopted many of the Western ideas for the last 25 years or even longer, the quality of life has diminished also. And people are not living very long, even 50 or 60 years in India, it's even less. So this is due simply to wrong direction in life. And what is that wrong direction? Instead of worshiping God, they worship matter. Sometimes they accuse us of worshiping a stone or an idol in the temple. They say, why are you worshiping stone or idols like that? But we are not. This is Krishna who has come in the form of his person, in the form of his personal form to accept worship. Therefore, it is called Archavigraha. It is an incarnation of Krishna for the sake of worship, because we cannot see Krishna and we can understand what it looks like. So Krishna appears in these external forms, which is called the deity. And they accuse us of worshiping idols or worshiping matter. But we accuse them of worshiping matter because they don't worship God, they worship money. They worship, their relatives, or they worship something in this material world that's ephemeral and doesn't give any long-term satisfaction. So they are idol worshippers, and we are worshiping Krishna, although it appears to be in the form of an idol, but it's not. It's actually a deity. There's a difference in understanding. So society has gravitated down. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada has said, back in 1973, he said, in 50 years, this whole Western civilization will be finished. And we're seeing it already. And there's so many problems, diseases, wars. The list goes on and on and on. And people's future is quite nebulous. People don't even know where they're going in life anymore. They're not even certain about what's going to happen in the future. They're not even making big plans anymore like they used to do about 20 years ago. Nowadays, they're simply living from day to day in order to somehow or other survive. Now, this is the effects of this age, but the effects of this age is that the demons are in control, and therefore this is a demoniac society. And therefore, Prabhupada said we have to establish these form communities, these natural living, the way Krishna lived, where we can get everything we need from the land. Nature is actually our mother. We even call her Mother Nature because she provides everything and more that we need. She's providing food. He's providing water. He's providing the material we need in order to build our homes. He's providing the medicines we need in the form of herbs. And here, gold, jewels, pearls, these are considered to be luxuries. This is also given by nature quite profusely. It's explained in the scriptures, in a very obscure part of the scriptures. It says that when a certain astrological constellation appears within the cosmos, and if it rains at that time during that astrological constellation, water, if it falls on the head of a snake, it turns into jewels. That same water, if it falls on the head of an elephant, it also turns into various gems. And if it falls into the ocean, it will turn into pearls, which will be taken by the oysters. And it's called Rohini. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. Rohini constellation may or may not be. The Rohini constellation was the constellation that appeared when Krishna appeared in this world. That constellation appeared in the sky. I'm not sure what this particular constellation is called because I've never seen a connection. But you may be right. I can't really verify it. But this is in scripture. So God, through nature, provides everything we need. Therefore, there's no need to work like an ass in these different types of industries, simply to get some pieces of paper, which at any moment could be valuable, or could be taken away. If the government is changing the value about what we have. If the stock markets go up and down, the money we have was worth more or less, depending on what happens. So, and if the governments collapse or have a recession, then just like in 1929 in America, when there was a huge economic recession, they called it a depression, people were jumping out of their windows and committing suicide because they had lost all of their valuable things. The banks at any time can say, well, we don't have any more money to give you. Therefore, whatever money you have in a bank, it's no longer yours anymore because it has already been gone. So the banks are controlling our lives. Instead of depending on Krishna and natural living, we depend on the governments. Governments are not dependable because they're run by corrupt people who are simply interested in their own aggrandizement and their own power positions. That's all. And they like to exploit and sap that. It says that in the age of Kali, which we are now in, that the governments will tax the people so much that people will get so, let me say, taxed to death that they'll leave their hearth and home and go into the forest just to survive. You see, and I could give you a few statistics. Those of you who live in the UK, you know, if you work, 45% of the money you make immediately is taken out by taxes. And if you make more than 100,000 pounds a year, then it's 50%. And they're always thinking how to raise that and how to get more money from you. This tax, that tariff, everything, they come up with newer and newer ways to get money from you. I remember I was traveling in one airport and I was checking into a flight and I was overweight. So the lady had said, "You're overweight, that'll be 29 euros more." So I said, fine. And then I was about to give her the money. She said, "No, you have to go pay at that window." And she pointed in that direction. So I went to the window to pay my 29 euros. And so I put my 29 euros on the counter. And the lady said, "That'll be 34 euros. I said, "I was told it was 29. She said, "Yes, that's correct. But we charge 5 euros for processing." And so here you can see how ridiculous it is. They give you a fine, and then they want to process it, and you have to pay them to process a penalty. So this is one of the ways that they find ways to getting your money more and more and more like that. So that's just the way. This is Kali Yuga. Pralir dosha nidhi rajanasti eko mahagun. It's full of cheating, lying, thievery, and all of the good qualities of a living entity are being sapped by this lifestyle. As Prabhupada writes in the, turn to the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, and verse number 1. I'm sorry, first canto, first chapter, verse number 10. 1, yeah, 10. And go down here. This is the one. O learned men in this iron age of Kali, men always have short lives. They're quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above disturbed. Going down the page here, there's a statement here. Let's see, I'm looking for it. Keep going. Let's see if I can find it. I don't see it yet. Keep going. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay, go back up the page here. Where is it? Let's see. Okay, just keep it steady for a minute. Okay, yeah, go up the page a little bit more. Okay, here. It says here by the very beginning, by keeping regular habits and eating simple food, any man can maintain his health. Overeating, over sense gratification, over dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human energy. Therefore, the duration of life is shortened. Overeating, too much sense gratification, becoming too much dependent on others. These are all, expansions or indications of an artificial type of lifestyle, which sap human energy, and therefore people's lifestyle is shortened. And shortened means there's a lot of sickness and illnesses. Now this is, you can see, this is the quality of this age. So Prabhupada had the formula to establish these natural communities, farm communities, self-sufficient varnashram dharma, where devotees live in a more simplified atmosphere, take care of cows, grow their own food, and learn medicine from herbs, build your own houses, all of these things. Even if you don't have to do all of the basic work, at least this type of lifestyle should be entered into, because it is natural, it is healthy, and it is invigorating. Just like I'm here at Govardhan Eco Village. I just look out my window and I can see the cows. The cows are right here. We have 100 beautiful, really beautiful looking cows. And then, of course, there is agriculture everywhere, and there's development, there's buildings being built so people can come and get an idea of how to live. There's a whole system of teaching people how to recycle everything. All the plastic that is being used here is taken and crushed and turned into various oils, which are used in different ways. When you flush your toilet, when you run the water in your bathroom, all of that water is not lost. It goes to a separation plant, and then ultimately that water is filtered out and it's used to fertilize the fields. So, these are all what we say grassroots types of technology that anyone can learn and take part in, or at least be part of it, because we live in a very artificial civilization. The winter is coming up now in Europe and in the United States. They're talking about food shortages. They're talking about heating fuel shortages. And if there's no shortages, at least they're going to be tripling, quadrupling the amount of money you have to pay for whatever you can get. So why live in such an artificial civilization? Why bring children up in such a place where there's only sinful activities going on everywhere? This is not Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Prabhupada gave us the formula. Develop, simple living, self-sufficiency. Develop a community of Vaishnavas that are simply dependent on the mercy of the Lord and work to support each other and practice Krishna consciousness. And so you can see what it was like years ago in when Lord Krishna was there. There was so much jewels, and food was available so easily and so plentifully. It's like Srila Prabhupada said that any food you grow on your own farms is 10 times more nutritious than the food you get from the stores, from these various types of outlets. The whole process of growing food centers around the bhakti. You plant the seed, that is bhakti. You till the ground, that is bhakti. You plant the seed, that is bhakti. You cultivate the seed, that is bhakti. You harvest the plant, that is bhakti. You take the fruit of the harvest, that is bhakti. You bring it to the kitchen. that is for the cook offered to the deities, that is bhakti. It's being cooked and offered to Krishna, and then when you eat it, it's prasadam. You can imagine the whole process is bhakti from the very beginning. So, but devotees and people in general will not change until everything crashes, because that's the way we do things. We get stuck in our lifestyle, and we'll just stay here until there's nothing left. There was one cartoon I saw where there was a world war and everything was smashed. I mean, the whole civilization was down. And there was one man, he had a television in his hand, and he was walking around looking for some place to plug it in. That's our foolishness. We don't see the inevitable. And as Prabhupada said, this whole civilization will crumble because it's rotten. The only way to change the civilization is to spread Krishna consciousness more and more. And because of the devotees are working hard to give people Krishna consciousness, there's still some semblance of civilization. What is that word? Parijata, what does that word no mean? I don't know.
Yes, Maharaj, I wanted to make some correction, but I'll do that when you're done. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Let me see. What was I saying? Yeah, that the devotees are working hard to spread Krishna consciousness, and therefore there is a semblance of civility that is still left within the world, but it centers around the devotees. And there are other religious groups who are also somewhat progressive and understand also how to move forward in such times and are teaching people God consciousness. So yeah, the world is in a transitional stage. The transitional is coming in the form of Lord Chaitanya's movement, which is purifying the world by eliminating everything that is blocking self-realization and bringing people back to their natural lifestyle and the practice of Krishna consciousness that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right, so I'll stop here. There's much we can say on that. So I wrote one book that's being published. It's called Krishna's Way, Natural Living. Hopefully it'll be out soon. It's all about Prabhupada's vision for the future based on farm communities. We're not asking everyone to give up everything right now and jump into the farms, but we should be very much aware that this is the future of the world, the future of our movement.
So thank you, Maharaj. Really wonderful class, because so many good messages I could see. And I personally loved one thing where you mentioned that how lifestyle and consciousness have changed from previous time to now. And rather than worshipping Lord, we are worshipping matter. I think this is a eye-opener thing, that we are really focusing on the dead elements. And second point, I really like, this is very useful for all of us, that simple living and focusing more on farm community, where we can have every resource and we can utilize every resource what Krishna has given in a proper way. So that's there. And third, the summary point was that how to focus more on Lord Chaitanya and also Krishna consciousness. That's the essence, and that's the purpose of our life. So thank you. Sorry, Maharaj, you were saying something.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maharaj. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I'm so happy to see so many devotees today in this call. It's really, really nice. 31 devotees are here. Request everyone, please, if you can switch on your video, then at least we can interact better with Maharaj. Otherwise, it looks like again, like we are worshipping or like just focusing on matters. So we have here Maharaj in our presence. So please have that darshan and also like take the maximum advantage. And also I request everyone to please ask good questions, comments, realizations. And if you have any things which you would like to share on the chat, I can read on your behalf. I can see one comment already, one question, in fact. So I will read that out. But yeah,
No, take the chat, take the visible hands first, and chats come later. Anyone who wants to ask the question should be given priority. When we don't have no more questions, we go to the chats.
yes. So request everyone first, like please take this opportunity, raise your questions now. If you have any, you can raise your hand, or you can directly ask.
If there's no direct questions, then you can read from the chat.
Yes, I can see Scarlett Mataji.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to your Holiness Candramauli and all glories to assembled devotees. You mentioned about nowadays there is so many demonical and bad things happening because of demonical situation and Kali Yuga. Can demonical personality infiltrate the temple also?
Yeah, it's already happening. Look what happened to Christianity. Christianity was a very powerful religion, but they got infiltrated with demons and others who took that and slowly and gradually moved it away from its essence. Therefore, became just a family tradition rather than a dynamic religion. The original Christians were powerful, and they were giving their lives to try to preach God consciousness. And Christianity spread so fast. Therefore, the demons got concerned, and so they gradually, as Prabhupada says, the movement cannot be destroyed from the outside. It can only can be destroyed from the inside. So yeah, there are always people who are taking positions. Prabhupada called them Kali Chela. Kali Chela. Chela means disciple, and Kali means Kali Yuga. So he says Tilak, Kantimala, and Sika, but they're disciples of Kali. They oppose themselves to be devotees, but they have a different agenda. Prabhupada set up the movement really strict, made it hard for anyone to break it, even from the inside. But there are people who are trying. So I don't have any names, nor even if I did, I wouldn't say anything. But it's obvious, there's different ways to determine how the movement is being diverted away. And you can see that if you study it very carefully. In other words, Prabhupada said, build these farm communities. This is the future of our movement. 50% of my mission is yet to be established. So this is the future of the world, the future of our movement.
Thanks, Maharaj. Mataji, I hope it answered your question.
Yes, my next question is, how do one know if, for instance, how do I know if I am your disciple or not?
Disciple means discipline. Comes from the word discipline. Discipline means to follow the instructions. If If you follow the instructions of the spiritual master, you're a disciple.
Okay, thank you.
Since there is no hands raised, I will. Okay, Namta Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your lotus feet, all glories to the wonderful Vaishnavas. So my question was, we see that we study scriptures theoretically, but we fail to imbibe them in our real life. We can see there is a disconnect in our practice. So I think there are a lot of factors connected to that, but somehow when I contemplate, it seems that does the root cause comes to chanting, or just there are many other factors?
What is the disconnect? Mm-hmm.
The disconnect, the practice, reading scriptures, studying scriptures, and then following that in our practical lives.
Well, yeah, but some of them, the environment doesn't allow you to do that. Just like you're living in big cities, you know, how are you going to grow your own? Well, you can grow your own food even in the cities. That's true. It takes community. Community is the foundation by which Krishna consciousness expands itself and facilitates itself. In other words, so many devotees working together to practice Krishna consciousness. So families depending on each other for resources, depending on each other for labor, becomes a community which minimizes the amount of work needed by each and every individual and creates an environment where people are together and worshiping Krishna consciousness. This nuclear family, which we have today in this world, is a way to separate people into small little groups so they can be exploited in the form of selling everybody everything. So capitalism, or no matter, capitalism does that. It just wants to separate people into smaller and smaller groups so people, they can get each and every individual to buy. Every individual is working, every individual has to buy. So where is community? In India, they used to have the joint families. And that was more of a cooperative thing, or sometimes it had its problems. But when Krishna is in the center, then all problems somehow will be ameliorated by cooperation around Krishna consciousness. But I failed to mention one thing that's most important in this age, that we need to spread the holy name everywhere. Armed communities are 50% of what Prabhupada projected as the foundation for our development of our society. But the other one is Harinama Sankirtan everywhere and anywhere. The chanting of the holy names will purify the entire atmosphere and change people's consciousness and bring an era of Satya Yuga in. It's the holy name that's going to do it. And it's devotees who are working together to chant the holy name, to spread the holy name, and to support each other in Krishna consciousness. So you can have a lot of small groups all working together and all functioning as one larger group, but in individual groups. That's fine. Not like you have to put everybody in one place. It's not possible and not even practical. Not even, of course, it's not even doable. But what we want is devotees to come together in more groups and work together, practice Krishna consciousness. Maybe develop farm communities and chant the holy names, preach Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said the world can change. Prabhupada told us when we were here, he said, He said, we could take over the whole world in 18 days, but he said to us, you're not ready. Which means that we haven't fully surrendered yet. As soon as we surrender to the instructions of the spiritual master, the mercy of the Lord flows like an unimpeded river. You have to understand the instructions of the spiritual master open up the mercy of the Lord. If we decide to do things our own way and think we know better, we may be blocking the mercy of the Lord. That's why we should follow Mahajano Yena Katassa Panta. One has to follow in the footsteps of the great souls. And that means follow their teachings. Mahajano Yena Katassa Panta. To see where you are and see where you need to go.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I think there are a lot of points which answers these questions. One of the prominent one I see is the spread of holy name and lack of our surrender. Yeah. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Still attached to the material energy. That's basically it. We're still attached to Maya.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I saw earlier Raj Prabhu hands raised, but probably he has put it down. So Prashansha Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you and the assembled devotees. What I said no to was a comment by Namrata Mataji. She said Rohini Nakshatra. Maharaj, I apologize. It was not Rohini Nakshatra. I did some research and it's actually Swati Nakshatra. And the raindrops Swati Nakshatra causes the oysters to form pearls. It causes the raindrops cause formation of camphor on the banana, and maybe poison in the mouth of a snake, or maybe the gem formation on the head. And there's a particular bird called Chataka. The Chataka bird only drinks the drops of rainwater that fall during the Swati Nakshatra. So I apologize, it was me who said the Rohini Nakshatra, but Rohini Nakshatra also has some other influence, but not in the case of rain. Different nakshatras have a different role to play during the rainy season. So Pusha Nakshatra actually helps females who have problem in childbirth. And also the monsoon in India or monsoon anywhere starts when the sun enters Ardra Nakshatra. So these are little informations I just wanted to give. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, thank you for clearing up the initial problem. It's good to hear that, that there's so much going on in nature that we're hardly aware of anything.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prashansha Mataji. Rajesh Prabhu, please go ahead.
I'd like to make one comment, because nature works as a holistic organism to provide and to purify, to correct everything. And if we follow the pattern of nature according to Krishna's direction, we're working in cooperation with the activities of nature. Therefore, we get all of the benefits from that. When we decide to work outside of nature's laws, we cause an anomaly for ourselves and others. And that's why we have so many cataclysms and so many problems in the world today, because people are trying to exploit nature instead of cooperate with nature. And the human being has that independence where all of the other 8,400,000 species of life all work in conjunction with Krishna's natural arrangement, except the human being. Because the human being wants to use his independence to act differently. And that's the problem. But as soon as we cooperate with Krishna, then automatically Krishna puts the material nature also provides everything we need. And even for purification, nature works. Just like disease is another form of purification. If your body gets sick and there's no indication of the sickness, then you can die from that. Just like if fire doesn't burn when you stick your hand in, you could lose your hand. So disease is a way to say that something's not right. You need to change, you need to correct. Yeah, thank you, Parijata. Krishna.
Rajesh
Continue.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, my Dandavat pranams. Maharaj, just really nice continuation from the verses and readings this week, about the nature of modern society and the roots behind it. Just a bit of a request, cheeky request, if I may, and I'll sort of explain why. Is it possible at some point, maybe if there's any devotees with you at the village, Maharaj, for us to at some point, maybe not today, but to get a live view of the beauty there? To some of us after coming back from the Dham, I'm sort of back in the city and missing the Dhams, and I know it's maybe a bit sentimental, but if it's possible to get an image or to go with the descriptions, I think it would really help.
You're talking about Govardhan Echo Village?
Yeah, or just the view, Maharaj. You explained there's so much.
Let me answer your question.
Okay. The question is. Sorry.
I'm trying to answer your question. You gave me the question. All you have to do is go online and look up Govardhan Echo Village. You'll find videos, you'll find information, you'll find detailed descriptions, you'll find how you can get here, how you can stay here. Everything is there. The media is, in one sense, good in that sense. You can provide instant information. So let's go. I think Vrindavanath posted it. Govardhan Echo Village. And you can find out everything. Any place you want in the world, just go online and look for it. There's videos, there's information, everything is there.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Prem Kishori, you have a question?
Krishna, Guru Maharaj, okay. Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. August Prabhupada and this to you. Thank you for the class about the farm communities and the necessity. Just need some clarification rather than a question. You said we are last minute planners and we don't change our lifestyle unless and until everything collapses and we have no option left. So after the Ukraine thing happened, we had a meeting at Gitanagri as to how many devotees can we accommodate if, God forbid, something like this was to happen. And we got a word from GVC that the priority will be given to people or devotees who are already working with the farm. So if you can guide us as to how we can plan ahead and start already working with the farm, so we go up on the list if there are things to happen.
If we can go on the what? I didn't get the last.
If we are already, how can we be already involved right now with our farm communities? Because we got the word from the GVC. I think the same thing happened in New Vrindavan also, that if God forbid there was something going to happen, then the priority will be given to those devotees who are already doing some service with the farm.
Yeah, so all you need to do, from my knowledge of Gitanagri, everything is in place. The infrastructure is already set up nicely. You have cows. The environment is quite, but you have a lot of undeveloped land there. So two things I would say for Gita Nagari. One is build more places for accommodations for people. Simple places, not like, big buildings or anything, just some simple wooden houses or some simple structures that wouldn't take much time and energy to build. And increase agriculture, because agriculture is the foundation for livelihood. It feeds the humans, it feeds the cows also. So yeah, Prabhupada made that as the, we call it the foundation by which farm-to communities expand. Is agriculture, he said first. He said cow protection second. So you have to establish at least a certain level of agriculture before you can actually take care of cows properly. And then places for devotees to live, that's it. And people in general. See. The land is there, that's it.
Yeah, but how can we living in the cities be involved with that?
Go there and see what they need and ask them to see what services you can do.
Okay.
Spend some time there. I think your children love it there, and they love it. They really like it there, right? Yeah, so bring the kids again. The kids will keep you there. You'll try to go back, but they won't let you.
Yes, good.
It's a great place for children. The cities are hell.
Yes. Thank you very much, Krishna.
Yeah, just spend some time there. I think you're doing that already, but inquire. What can I, what can I do to increase the service here, where we can provide food and more facilities for more and more devotees. Like here in Govardhan Echo Village, I mean, it's a little bit differently focused here, but they're in the process of building 8 new buildings here to house people. And they're always expanding. The expansion doesn't stop here. Just keeps on going. And you might say, well, we need money. Then you can find some ways to generate revenue also through the expansion process.
Thank you, Maharaj. Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Ilaria Mataji, Hare Krishna. You have asked 2-3 questions in the chat. So please, if you can go ahead and summarize these.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada and all devotees. I have 3 questions, but I read this question because I don't speak very well. The first question, Krishna says that by offering him every activity we carry out, we can go beyond the concept of super follows, right? So can we also work in very material environments, but staying with a high distance? In devotional service, however, what could be considered as superfluous?
I'm not sure I got that question, only because somebody was making noise just when you were talking. Could Vrindavan Nath read her question in the chat there?
Yes, Maharaj. Her question is that Krishna says that by offering him every activity we carry out, we can go beyond the concept of superfluous. We can also work in very material environment, but staying with a high consciousness. In devotional service, however, what could be considered as superfluous?
In devotional service, nothing is superfluous. Superfluous means extraneous or has nothing to do with the essence. Preparing for devotional service is another feature of devotional service. Just like if you want to distribute books, you have to have books. And you have to maybe have a vehicle by which you can travel to transport the books. So you might say, well, book distribution is the essence and getting the books is superfluous. No, it's all connected to the same activity. Yeah. Keeping your health in devotional service allows you to work in such a way as that you can maximize your energy and time and effort in Krishna consciousness. So keeping health is not superfluous. No, there's nothing superfluous in the devotional service.
Thank you very much.
Mataji have two more questions, Maharaj. I will just read out in summary. So her second question is in Harinam Sankirtan. So Harinam Sankirtan frees us from the preconceptions we have about the people we meet. But does this purification process work even if the devotee who do Harinam don't have a high consciousness and chant with ego? So her question is that Harinam Sankirtan purify, that's for purification, but how this works if devotee chant with ego?
The activity is pure, the consciousness may be less than pure, and therefore the results that one receives will be less than pure.
Okay.
Krishna says, Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajami aham. Mama Vartmana Vartante Manusha Partha Sarvashyaham. As you approach me, I reward you accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So the approach and which means the consciousness and the means of approach at the same time to combine reflects how that service will be offered. And therefore, the quality, just like there's chanting in what is called Namaparad, that's with chanting with offense. And you have Namabas, that means gradually removing the offenses. And then you have Sudanam, which is pure chanting. You can say that Sudanam and Namabas are the same. Both are chanting, but one is actually tasting the happiness of Krishna consciousness. The other one is gradually purifying themselves to come to a higher stage.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, molto grazie.
Grazie.
Okay.
Her last question, Maharaj, is society is demonic, but people are not. Often what we classify as demonic is suffering. Is it fair to think that very few people are truly demonic?
Well, there's a statement by Srila Prabhupada in 1972 to the devotees. He says the demons are increasing and they will also only continue to increase. He said, but don't worry. He said, take shelter of Krishna and the holy name of Krishna will protect you. So Prabhupada could see that as society went on, the demoniac element will increase more and more and more. So I would say right now there are more demons than ever from what was maybe 50 years ago. So from my experience and what's happening in the world, I would say, if you, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, so much wealth I have today, So much more will be mine in the future. He is my enemy, and I have killed him. And my other enemy will also be killed. I am surrounded by aristocratic relatives. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I shall give in charity. I shall rejoice. So Krishna patterns, he speaks. This is Krishna speaking. Mentality of the demons. They always want more and more and more. More power, more money, more control. And as Prabhupada said, the demons will do anything. They will kill their mother, they'll kill their father, they don't care. They'll kill anyone just to get their desires fulfilled. So the world is moving in that direction, but at the same time, there is a dichotomy that's happening at the same time, and that is the Krishna consciousness simultaneously is also spreading. And the people in the middle are suffering. The demons are also suffering, but they're thinking they're okay because they got power, they got money, they got facilities like that. But it's all that's superfluous. That's superfluous. So yeah, Prabhupada even said it. Demons are increasing. I can give you the quote. It's a lecture that Prabhupada gave. And he said it not just that time, he said it so many times. And the demons are increasing and they will continue to increase. But ultimately, it'll get to a point where it'll collapse, where Lord Chaitanya's movement will come in and push out all of this evil. And if you read the Bhagavatam, it's mentioned, it's also in the Gita, there is an eternal battle. And the word eternal, you have to emphasize, between Sura and Asura. In other words, there is a constant fight between the pious and the demoniac, all for control of the world. The devotees want to control for Krishna, the demons want to control for their own selfish interests. Okay. So this fight between good and evil is a constant battle. It's not just happens at certain times in history, it goes on more or less. Right now it's at a peak and it's really going strong. And that's why you see war everywhere. So many other calamities. And so it's all due to, Prabhupada said, he said, people are generally good, but because of the demons, people are suffering. Because of the demons. And he said mostly because of the demoniac leaders. They take posts all over the world in positions of power, and then they exploit people everywhere. They could be anywhere in any different industries like that. So if you understand how, just like when Krishna, before Krishna came, he said the world was overburdened with demoniac forces. That was 5,000 years ago. It was so bad at that time that Mother Earth became distressed. She went to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma went to the demigods with Indra and all of his associates, and then they went to the ocean of milk. And they offered beautiful prayers to Lord Vishnu, which were called the Purusha Shukta prayers, praying for the Lord to advent, to destroy this demonic influence in the world. And the Lord said, I know all about it, and in due course of time I will come. He assured the demigods that they would come, yeah. The demigods are also working right now to somehow or other push back the demonic influence. They're working with devotees, some of these demigods. This is very confidential. But there are powerful forces, powerful good forces in the world who are trying to push back this demoniac influence. And they're coming from higher planets also. All of this information is available, but how it's understood, that's the problem. But we should understand that, yes, these two types of living entities, demons and devotees, are constantly at each other's throat. It's a fight. And it's going on right now. And look what they're doing in the schools. They're trying to change the gender. Isn't that demoniac? You can see how they infiltrate schools. You're no more called a girl or boy. If you refer to a person as a female or a male, you could be considered to be offensive and get punished for that. So they created that it's a it or a they or I'm Mars, I'm Jupiter, or some 28 different kinds of genders. But Krishna only created 2 types of genders. You might say, well, there are also the eunuchs. So you might say 3. There's a eunuchs also. But generally, you know, if you look about it, just open your eyes and you can see what's happening in the world. It's crazy. Demons have infiltrated everywhere in all parts of society to gradually change the whole value system and make it very, very mundane and material, and focus on sense gratification as the goal of life. You can see it. It's all you have to do is open your eyes a little bit. It's there. Our kids are being destroyed by these schools. Of course, because our kids have good parents, their parents are taking care of them nicely and trying to compensate for all of the wrong things they learn in schools, but it's not so easy. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada wanted gurukuls all over the world to educate our devotees, children, and Krishna consciousness and proper material subject matters. So this is Kali Yuga, and it's getting worse. We have to read the scriptures. It's all there. The scriptures actually just, it's like reading a daily newspaper when you read the scriptures. What's happening in the world today is being written in the scriptures right now. It's being spoken by the great souls. And so it's not some imagination. We're not imagining this. That's why Prabhupada said 2 things: spread the holy name everywhere, build these farm communities. If we put emphasis on these 2 things, we can gradually push back the emphasis of demonic. Because the holy name is so powerful that the demons can't do nothing. The holy name is Krishna himself in sound. So we want to bring the holy name everywhere and anywhere throughout the whole world.
Thanks, Maharaj. I hope Mataji it answered all your questions. You're on mute.
No, I don't have. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Now, Maharaj, I have one question. Scarlet Mataji you have raised, but I will just go first to Devanand Pandit Prabhu. He has put something on chat. Maharaj, it's a long chat. If it's okay, I can read, please.
Yeah, read it. If it's long, read it slowly.
Yes. I think partly you answered his question, in my view, in terms of demonic in the previous question, but I will still read it. His point is, Let me share my observation. I have been living in Germany for last 2 months. I would not go so far as to call this society demoniac. According to my observations, people live in a respectable, full life here. They work 4 days a week, live in a good warm houses, eat good quality delicious food, travel in good trains, planes and cars. Many of them take care of their health, go in for sports and so on. Most of the Germans live 80 years. These people sincerely believe in God and attend church regularly. These people spend a lot of time with their families. Germany has hosted millions of refugees from Ukraine and provides them with a decent life, with the opportunity.
I'm saying that the leaders, people who are in the leading positions throughout the society, are influenced by or controlled by demons. The general population is generally innocent, and they're going on with their life. But if you scratch the surface, you'll see everything is not as rosy as you're describing it. Because I got a message. I don't know if I should say this. I think if I say this, this whole thing will get taken off the air. So I won't say it now because it's not allowed, because there's certain things you can't say and it'll get shut down. But, and that refers to Germany too. If you understand what's happening on another level, you'll see beyond all of the niceties that you see on the local level, there's a whole other aspect of society that is being controlled. People are being exploited constantly, everywhere. So there's wars everywhere. How can you say that everything is nice? And maybe in Germany, something appears to be nice. But the latest statistic in Germany is that people are suffering more in Germany from the reactions of COVID than any other place in the world, Germany and Israel. And that I have documented. So you might see a certain part of it. You're not seeing the whole picture. You can't just take, if you take a part of something and say this is the whole, then you have a tendency to miss a lot of what's actually going on. So yeah, there may be everything you say may be true to a certain degree, but you have to see it on the bigger picture. And that may also be true in other countries too. People are trying to take care of their families. That's true. Everywhere you find that in the world. But there is a class of people who are destroying the world. It's happening right now. I don't want to give too many statistics because if I do, it'll turn into a whole different discussion, and I don't want to go into that area. But I would suggest you look at the whole picture and not just part of it. And who knows? Sometimes people appear to be happy, but inside they're not. Prabhupada also talks about that. Yeah, people have to be convinced that life is good. Otherwise, how can they go on? A lot of times they're suffering, but they're not showing it. They're acting like everything is okay. That's also true. Material life means to suffer. Tukalayam Sasvatam, Krishna says it in the Bhagavad Gita. Material world is miserable and it's temporary. The mode of goodness gives a little indication of material happiness. But how many people are actually functioning in the mode of goodness? Most people function in the mode of passion or ignorance. Passion means to work hard for sense gratification. That's passion. Which doesn't give happiness, just gives a hard struggle for existence. I was just reading that section in the Bhagavatam today. Krishna is describing the three modes of material nature and the characteristics with each mode. And a so-called good material life looks like it's not in the mode of goodness. It's in the mode of passion with elements of the mode of ignorance. So we have to be clear on what is actually what we say material happiness. Is there such a thing? And if there is, what does it look like? And to be materially successful is not necessarily, it is the mode of passion, not the mode of goodness. So what you're seeing is what you're experiencing, but that's only a small little portion of the whole picture. And it doesn't indicate actually what it is. Many times people will present themselves as being fine, but they're suffering like crazy. I would suggest that all of these people that you are observing, talk to them and ask them how they are doing. And see what kind of response you get from them. Tukalayam sasritam anitya asubham. Happiness is Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada even shot down the idea that there's happiness in the mode of goodness also. Krishna gives a little facility. He says there is a little happiness, but when Prabhupada was discussing it, he said the mode of goodness is a full sense of happiness. In the sense that it relegates the idea that material life is the goal of it. To have a nice material life is the goal of life, which is not the goal of life. The goal of life is Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Maharaj. And I think, like, if in summary, we can say that if anybody who is not really on the Krishna consciousness path and really coming back to the first point that they are worshipping or focusing more or emphasizing more on matter rather than the Krishna or the God, then actually they are moving towards demonic quality. So that way we can say.
And at any time, the material energy can change, and whatever so-called, whatever you've established materially that you're depending on can be completely pulled out from under you. But when you're Krishna conscious, you are happy, whether you're living in hell, whether you're in heaven, whether you're in between. Narayana para sarve na kushtishat na vidyati. Svalpa alpa dharma. In other words, those who are Krishna conscious, it doesn't matter what material situation they're in. They're focused on Krishna, and eventually they'll go back to Krishna. So, yeah.
Sorry, Maharaj, please. Sorry, I interrupted.
Dhanvantari, you had a question?
Yes, Dhanvantari Prabhu, please go ahead.
No, it's not a question. It's a little comment. So most of the days in the month I drive a bus. So my realization is that people live just like animals in a slaughterhouse. They get little food, so that they don't see that they're next to that.
Yeah, that's it. Time is
Yeah.
pushing everyone towards the final moment.
Yeah.
We have the example of, I think I told this a little parable. One man is walking in an open field and he falls, and there's a covered well there, and he falls into the well and he goes down. He grabs onto a branch while he's falling into the well. Now he's hanging onto the branch. He looks down into the bottom of the well and he sees a gigantic snake in the bottom of the well. And now he's hanging on the branch, and he looks up and he sees a tiger at the top of the hole looking down into him. So death is above and below. And then now he's hanging onto the branch, and there's two rats, one black and one white, and they're chewing on the branch he's holding onto. But still, there is a honeybee nest in the well, and it's dripping honey. So now, and it's falling right where he is. So he sticks his tongue out thinking, oh, this is so nice. Material life. I get a little sex life, then everything's okay. I can go on with all my other problems.
Thanks, Maharaj. I think our life is like a camel which is sucking its own blood and enjoying.
There's danger at every step. This is the Bhagavatam. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says the material world is no place for a gentleman or a gentle lady. In other words, one who is intelligent will not try to stay here and make a nice material arrangement. One's intelligence will say, let me get out of here. Let me go to a place where I don't have to die, I don't have to suffer, I don't have to become disappointed every time I try to do something. Where I don't have to get old. Devotees.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Devotees in their Krishna conscious movement gave up all of their nice, so-called nice material arrangements so they could practice Krishna consciousness, to live on the floor, to eat khichdi, and to work in very difficult circumstances. They would rather do that than live in that nice position that they had previously. So I pointed that out. How many of our devotees gave up all of the luxuries of even a family life in this material world to take the Krishna consciousness. We're not saying don't have family, we're saying become Krishna conscious.
Thank you, Maharaj. We are just like 31 minutes over. Can we continue? There are hands raised by Scarlett Mataji.
Yeah, get to the essential questions. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
I just want to give a comment because I myself come from the country that it was war. And when I came to the country that they gave me the refuge, it was not, they did give me the refugee, but at the same time, they sold weapons to both the country that I was born and the country that my country was in the war with. They sold weapons to them. So it was not out of kindness that I get to live in Sweden. That is what I would to say. It was not very nice, but okay. My other things is I need to ask the question about, I know that I have heard so many times that Srila Prabhupada have said it, that women and the children should be protected and live in the spiritual center or in the temple and so on and so on. But the protection, is it protection, is it the temple authority who's protecting, who has to protect also, or is it only that they will be protected by other way, not the authority?
Well, I think you have to make a little adjustment in your statement. Prabhupada says women, children, old persons, cows, and Brahmins have to be protected. Doesn't mean you have to be living in the temple to be protected. But anyone who is in association with these 5 types of people has to arrange for protection for them. So if you fail to protect any one of these 5, you're incriminated in sinful activity. Even in the general sense, it doesn't have to happen in the temple. It just has to happen as a principle, that's all. Women require protection. Children require protection, obviously. Old people. All of these people need care from another party. Cows, Brahmanas, all of those. Brahmanas are simply dependent on the rest of society. That's all. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have to move on because there's another group here that's come to see me, and I have another little group to attend to. So thank you very much. And we want to thank all the devotees for coming on today. There was as Vrindavana.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining. And in fact, devotee would like to take your blessings also for next session. Srimati Mataji and Sridevi Mataji has kindly organized a session just after this for discussion on farm community and how to really take your messages forward after GEB retreat. So need your blessings also, Maharaj. And thank you very much for everyone for joining this session. Really, really very useful. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna. Candramauli Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna devotees.